Touched on the high productivity freight vehicle network in Victoria, and this is a common question that comes through. It's a little bit lighthearted. We ask it of everyone we interview. Gavin and John, what is a road train?
A road train is...
So I'm here today with Gavin Hill and John Gordon from Transport Certification Australia. If I can just ask you both, Gavin, what is it you do for TCA?
Thanks, Callum. Transport Certification Australia is the national government body that looks after technology and data in the digital realm. My role is to work with government, industry players and the technology sector to bring new productivity and safety reforms and initiatives using technology to life.
And John Gordon, Strategic Development Manager. I work for Gavin, and primarily I'm working with our government stakeholders, our members, to bring their visions for the use of technology to support policy initiatives to life.
And TCA, so it's a government body?
It's an extension of government. It's a company in its own right, but we're oversighted by a government board represented by Australia's road and transport agencies, as well as membership extending to New Zealand.
And obviously the big part of what most operators and transport companies out there might be wondering is, what is all this new stuff and how do I navigate it?
For those who are familiar with TCA, you might see us as being synonymous with the Intelligent Access Program, or the IAP. That happened to be the first technology-based reform that was introduced into Australia back in 2008. But since then, TCA's role has evolved, and with it, the use of telematics technologies for a broader range of purposes. So the IAP was all about compliance and enforcement, but over time TCA's role has shifted to support other forms of telematics applications.
If I could just pick up on that for a moment.
Sure.
I mean, there's three applications at different levels of assurance are tied generally by government to different policy outcomes. So for example, with the IAP, we've got evidentiary quality data, there's a full chain of evidence around it, gold quality data. TMA, it's really good quality data, but you're never going to get hit with a big stick out of TMA. It's not evidentiary quality data. No one's going to be issuing you a penalty infringement notice off that one. And RIM, it's very much about de-identified and aggregated information for road managers. So local councils and state governments particularly interested in TMA and RIM increasingly as a data set, looking for data about not necessarily individual vehicles, although with TMA they can make decisions about the behaviour of an individual operator or an individual vehicle, but they're looking for that data to be able to make decisions about the movement of fleets, commodities across their network, and to be able to better manage their network, so bridge maintenance and those sorts of things. And
the technology providers out there, there's many. There's OBM, there's smart OBM, there's 1, 2, 3 levels of assurance, there's different companies, they've got different models. Where do I start?
We manage a framework called the National Telematics Framework, and the interactions between government, the technology sector, end users, the transport sector, and ourselves is a bit of a dance. We're a four-way dance partner, if you like. The takeaway message is providers come into this space because they see market opportunities. They see market opportunities to do something new or different that's not already in the market, but they're really responding to the policy initiatives that are created out of government. So if your vehicle, Callum, requires smart OBM, the first thing you're going to do is go to our website and see who do I need to speak to get some quotes and estimates of different OBM systems. That's the value of a competitive marketplace. It's worth highlighting also just it's not collecting data for the sake of data. When we talk about the constraints that PBS vehicles often face in gaining access to the network, there's generally pinch points or restrictions somewhere in the route or the network, which results in a no being given back to the transporter. What road managers are telling us, based on contemporary standards for bridge assessment, is that if they've got access to smart OBM data, they're able to increase the mass limits that individual bridges can tolerate. They're effectively reducing the load factors, the safety factors that are built into bridge calculations.
As a result of the data that's been provided to them, they've also been able to turn permits into notices. So it's more payload and more certainty. Now, I think, for a lot of the high productivity freight vehicle operators in Victoria, for a lot of the PBS operators in New South Wales, where new networks have been opened up, that is so powerful. Having certainty over where they're allowed to travel without having to ask for permission every time. Now, there's always those last mile issues, that sort of thing. And I know a lot of the road managers in the NHVR are working towards solutions through, spatial solutions and things like that. But, we've come a long way in a very short period of time based on data.
Well, you touched on the high productivity freight vehicle network in Victoria, and this is a common question that comes through. It's a little bit lighthearted. We ask it of everyone we interview, and I'll ask it to close. Gavin and John, what is a road train?
A road train is anything that's anything really longer than 30 metres in my book.
I was born in Sydney, so a road train there is one thing. I live in Melbourne, and a road train down there is something very, very different. Road trains are terrifying things in Melbourne. As far as I can tell, they're both the same thing.
I like that you give the technical answer, Gavin. That's the way to go.
Okay.
Especially when you're working in government. So thank you. Thanks to you both for the interview.
I like John's answer though. That was a good one.
It's a different thing to different people. That's what we're hearing a lot of.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for your interview, and we look forward to talking soon.
Yeah, thanks, Colin.